Welcome to this explainer. If you really look closely at your daily routine, you might just realize a kind of terrifying truth. You're trapped in a biological and systemic cage. And honestly, you probably don't even realize it. From the second you wake up to the minute your head hits the pillow, these invisible forces are just steering your financial decisions. So today, we're going to break down the exact mechanics of this trap. And, more importantly, we'll outline a really precise framework, one that's totally aligned with Canadian financial literacy standards, to help you completely escape it. We're talking about the 3 micro habits of wealth created used by the top 1%. Now, you might be asking yourself, why can't I just budget better? Why can't I just use more willpower? Well, the harsh reality, willpower is mathematically doomed to fail. Our traditional school systems, they were perfectly engineered to produce compliant workers who just trade their time for money, right? Not to build independent wealth. Combine that foundational conditioning with modern tech, like social media algorithms and those frictionless one-click shopping platforms, and you're literally facing systems explicitly designed to hijack your human dopamine pathways. This isn't just clever marketing, folks. This is psychological warfare designed to keep you trapped as a constant consumer. You're out there fighting billion-dollar algorithms with sheer willpower, and right now, you're losing. So there's this really stark contrast between how the vast majority operates versus the wealthy. On one side, we have the biological cage, trading time for money and constantly battling that dopamine hijacking. But over on the other side, we have the 1% framework. And here's the insider secret. The top 1% don't possess magically more willpower than you do. They really don't. Instead, they use specific psychological frameworks. We're talking automated systems, usually executed in this critical, dedicated 15-minute window right when they wake up. They use these systems to completely automate wealth creation and basically override their biological impulses entirely. Okay, let's dive right into this. Habit 1, master the dopamine delay. So retailers have successfully weaponized your own brain against you. They understand the neurochemistry of shopping way better than we do, and they use it to trigger impulsive spending before our logical brains can even catch up. See, the human brain releases this massive spike of dopamine, that really powerful feel-good neurochemical, not when you actually acquire an item, but in the anticipation of buying it. The thrill is literally in the hunt. That's why the dopamine delay, sometimes called the 24-hour cart rule, is your absolute best primary defense mechanism. It's simply a mandatory 24-hour waiting period for any non-essential purchase. You can browse all you want, you can shop, but you absolutely must hit pause before you pay. Let's walk through exactly how this looks in practice. Step 1, you find something you want and you toss it in your digital or physical card. Boom, you still get that initial rush. Step 2, you close the tab or you literally walk out of the store and you wait exactly 24 hours. No exceptions. Then step 3 is where the magic really happens. This psychological trick forcibly decouples the dopamine spike from the actual depletion of your cash. After a day, that emotional high vanishes and your prefrontal cortex, the logical reasoning part of your brain, regains full control over your decision-making. Get this. Implementing this simple 24-hour pause can eliminate up to 80% of your impulse spending. 80%! That means you're only retaining the 20% of purchases that are actually mindful and necessary. By doing this one little thing, you instantly stop the invisible bleed of your wealth. It's a massive, high-impact barrier against the psychological warfare of modern retail. All right, stopping the bleed is step 1. Which brings us to habit number 2, overcome your financial fear. A huge, often unspoken cause of chronic financial stagnation is something called financial avoidance. People get so terrified of their financial reality that they just ignore it. They don't open bills, they don't check balances, and this triggers a paralyzing, vicious cycle of late fees, overdrafts, and deep, chronic anxiety. To break this, the ultra-wealthy crush this avoidance by spending exactly 60 seconds, literally just 1 single minute, every single morning looking at their total net worth, their bank balances, and their credit card debt. That's it, 60 seconds. There is absolutely no budgeting during this minute, no agonizing over past purchases, no planning. It is purely raw, unfiltered observation. And this practice is built directly on proven clinical psychology. What you're actually doing in those 60 seconds is practicing exposure therapy for your wallet. In the clinical world, exposure therapy is used to diminish irrational fears by forcing daily, safe contact with whatever's causing the fear. By looking at your numbers every single morning, the emotional terror just starts to vanish. Your bank balances transform from the source of crippling anxiety into just neutral, actionable data. So the absolute crucial takeaway here is this. You cannot optimize a system you are afraid to look at. Really let that sink in for a second. Look, it's entirely valid to feel anxiety about debt or low balances, but avoiding the numbers just hands your power straight over to fear. By forcing raw observation, you take the emotion completely out of the math, giving yourself the clarity you actually need to make a change. Once you can clearly see the data without the fear, you can build a system that works for you rather than against you. Enter habit number 3, automate your wealth siphon. For decades, traditional advice has been telling us to just save whatever's left over at the end of the month, right? But relying on end of the month savings is just a mathematical failure. Think about it. After a long workday, your brain suffers from decision fatigue. It literally loses the ability to make good, disciplined choices. And beyond that fatigue, there's a fundamental economic principle working against you called Parkinson's law. This is the reality that a person's expenses will naturally expand to consume their entire available income. If you have the money sitting right there in your checking account, you will inherently find a way to spend it. Your lifestyle naturally inflates to eat up every single available dollar. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what happens. When your income sits in your checking account, your expenses just rise to perfectly match it. It happens almost unconsciously. The only way to beat Parkinson's law is to ensure the money just isn't available to be consumed in the first place. You literally have to remove human weakness from the equation entirely. This is exactly where the frictionless siphon comes in. Now, this approach perfectly aligns with core Canadian financial literacy strategies, specifically the idea of paying yourself first. It's a strictly automated system. Step 1, you set up a system to siphon off a really small, manageable amount of capital, say $5 to $10 daily. Step 2, this money is automatically transferred out of your primary checking account and into an investment vehicle before you ever even see it or interact with it. Step 3, because the money is siphoned away instantly, your brain subconsciously adjusts to living on the remaining balance, and you don't feel any sense of deprivation. You seamlessly transition your identity from a consumer to an investor on pure autopilot. Now, none of these habits will actually stick if your mindset is anchored in the past. It requires a vital mindset shift, this sunk cost reframe. To really adopt the dopamine delay, that daily fear exposure, and the frictionless siphon, you absolutely must abandon the guilt of your past financial failures. Guilt is just another emotion keeping you trapped in that cycle of avoidance and impulse. So remember this quote: past debts and bad purchases are just necessary tuition paid to learn what does not work. Seriously, stop viewing your past mistakes as permanent failures. Reframe them. You paid tuition to the school of life to figure out your own vulnerabilities. That money's gone, the lesson is learned, and your baseline resets today. Like right now. So, here is your immediate next step. To prove that you're no longer just a passive participant in this psychological warfare, I want you to take a micro action today. Set up an automated $5 weekly transfer right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Prove to yourself that this system can actually be manipulated in your favor. Take control of the warfare, override your biology, and start building your wealth on autopilot. So what does this all mean for you? Are you finally ready to stop being a consumer and start being the architect of your own financial freedom?